New guilty pleasure alert. My new favorite content to watch. Democrats dunking on other Democrats over who lost the election.
Wow, okay.
This is by far my favorite content to watch right now.
That's amazing.
So if you guys don't know, the biggest liberal-leaning podcast YouTube channel on the internet is Young Turks, which if you are, Harris campaign, I don't know why they didn't run her stuff over there, didn't do any interviews with her, didn't interview with Destiny. And so they've been having these post-mortem streams, and they're just amazing. They're amazing. Okay, so I wanted to highlight this because I think the next wave of opportunity is very difficult to make content when you're not the opposition. Yep. So I actually think you're going to start seeing the folks like the Young Turks kind of go crazy by calling out their own. You already see Bernie Sanders doing it anyway. So this is their post-mortem discussion on what happened last Tuesday. And this really has nothing to do with anything. I just enjoy this content. And then my wife sent me a podcast from the Free Press that maybe we'll get into later. Okay. That's also chef's kiss. Wow. It's just them dunking on themselves is my favorite pastime because it's all the stuff I've been saying to people. Yeah. That people just ignored and act like I was on the far right and you don't get it and and it's like, oh, it's so good to hear these people say the very things I've been telling people on the left for well over a year. Right. Okay, so let's jump into it. Shout out to the Turks. Anna Kasparian. Anna Kasparian is the lady that went viral. Yeah. She's not on this video, but just a little bit of context of who they are. She had the moment where she crashed out over Christianity, and then she's kind of shifted a bit right, and so she's just been consistently crashing out on her side. She's not in this video, but she's great. I actually reached out to her.
She's still part of Young Turks?
Yeah, I actually reached out to have her on the channel. I would love to sit down with her.
Isn't she like a Republican or?
She's politically homeless right now, technically, yeah.
And they still have her at the Young Turks?
Yeah. If there's anything that the Young Turks do well is that there's more dissenting arguments there, whereas like I love valuetainment and I love stuff on the right, but very seldom are you going to hear like Matt Walsh and like Ben Shapiro get into it. The Young Turks will get into it. That's a great point. I mean? They'll get into it. So
like I've spoken to multiple women who've been like, no, I'm not surprised by this. This is a thing. It exists. So I'm not going to try to deny that. But I do agree that it is a thing, and it was also a thing with Clinton. That is.
So what is he talking about? You know what he's talking about? What is the thing with Clinton? That was also a thing with Harris. What was the thing?
Roe v. Wade.
No. Misogyny.
Oh, misogyny.
Sexism, isms, all the isms. That's why he's saying she lost.
Okay.
My man on the left, I don't know his name, he's gonna just let it rock.
A part of it. And to the extent that culturally it can be fought back against, I think it should. I think it's super hard for a candidate inside of a presidential election to fix that, which is why, do what you can in that area. But I think the large group that are more persuadable are persuadable on other things.
I got more. I think the last thing I'll say about this, I think what you guys are talking about is an elite liberal projection. The people who literally refer to folks, will refer to an individual as a cisgendered, white, male, straight, like literally micro freaking identities assigned to a person. The people who live that ideology are now projecting that on the electorate. People don't see the world that way.
For far too long, the bar for Christians has been set low. More Christians are skipping church, watching online, too busy for group, and not serving in their local church communities. They go about their lives not feeling connected to Jesus, and in turn, their salvation goes unnoticed by their unsaved peers. They've become indistinguishable from the world around them. We need to shift from asking, what is the bare minimum I can do for Christ, and start asking, what would it look like to live a life entirely devoted to Him? 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 12 describes a life that seems to have been forgotten. Live such good lives among the pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day He visits us. So join me and my favorite pastors, podcasters, and performers March 27th through 29th at the Bless God Summit in Southern California, and discover your personal ministry, calling, and purpose when living in complete devotion to Jesus.
People don't.
That's the punchline.
I told you. Isn't this great?
That's amazing.
Is this great? Like the left is like, y'all went too far.
He's like, you got micro identities and people don't see the world that way.
We don't look at the world this way, fam.
Yeah, and quite frankly, it sounds exhausting to do that. Like, I don't know how they got energy.
Yes.
Maybe that's why they're all depressed.
Yes.
See themselves as a Latin male straight person first, and then go out and apply that to every single thing they encounter in the world. Meaning, Kamala Harris is an Indian, black, straight, interracial. Like, people don't view the world that way. Yes,
you got to keep up with all your identities. Like, oh man, I'm ginger bearded Italian, Irish American who is raised in a single mom household. So I was 3, and then I actually have a really stable household, adopted. like what? Like
all the identity,
all the
markers,
identity,
the higher
markers.
intersectionality nonsense.
Oh, bro, obese.
Keep going.
I'm sure there are individual people out there who like, I will never cast my vote for a woman, or I will never cast my vote for a white person, but like, or a black person, excuse me. But this idea that voters are this identitarian, I think is a projection. They're just not. And I think the Latin vote should just teach people about this, because if that's what it was, it's like, well, you're Latin and Donald Trump clearly hates Latin people. How the hell are you doing this? That's not how they view this thing. That's
Come on, man.
He's cooking.
He's cooking. I saw a Matt Walsh clip that was he highlighted one of these other folks, right? That was like, if there's anything we've learned, it's that just because someone's Latin doesn't mean they're a Democrat.
Yeah. Well,
and it's like, just because they're brown, thought you were going to vote
There's
for.
2 fractions. There's one fraction that is still pretty far gone, and they think like she lost because of disinformation.
Yeah.
This is the
witches on TikTok.
The witches on TikTok. Who's the Alan Hitchison or whatever, the guy with the 13 keys?
Yep.
Disinformation, media. And then there's people that are just like, no, we lost because they fumbled, and everyone is to blame. Nancy Pelosi, Biden, Harris, all these folks are to blame. They ran a terrible campaign. They squandered $1 billion. She's still $20 million in the hole. That's why they lost. And so there's like a war going on within the left. And it's the best.
That's crazy.
Keep going.
how elite liberals view everything.
Elite liberals, yeah.
Well, look, that might be for some elite liberals. I would say, I think there always tends to be a lot more focus on how Democrats play identity politics than Republicans. A lot of Trump's campaigning implied to me that either he or his campaign infrastructure sure thought there was something that they could play with these different groups. I mean, the fact that they targeted like people with more ads than literally anything else implies to them that they don't think that the economy is the only battleground that they want to wage war on. They were trying to make explicit appeals to men because they thought that there was something there. They clearly thought that breaking down the general American voters into different demographic slices had some sort of pragmatic political advantage to them.
He's completely missing the point.
He's missing the point.
The point isn't that are there men who will never vote for a woman, or are there white folks that'll never vote for a black? Like, yes, but those aren't the deciding voters.
Yes.
The deciding voters are the same people who voted for Obama in 2008, 2012, then voted for Trump, then voted for Biden, and then voted for Trump again.
Yeah.
Same county, same states, same people.
Hello.
That's who. They're not that far gone. They were okay with a black president.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not what this is about.
Yeah, not to mention, it's like he's just describing basic marketing and chalking it up to identity politics. It's like, of course you're going to run ads to different groups of people. That is what split testing is. Let's run an ad to this age demographic. Let's run an ad to male and to female. Let's run an ad. That's how ads work.
Yes.
So it's like, of course you're doing basic marketing,
right?
But it's not the identity politics that is preached on the left.
Here, I'll show you guys the podcast. So this is the Free Press, and this is actually a pretty good podcast. Now, something interesting happens in this podcast. I'm not gonna play the whole podcast, but this is like the Free Press. There's like 2 Trump supporters, 2 Democrats on here, and and a couple other people, and they're having a really good conversation. There's a YouTube version of this, but I couldn't find this episode. So I was listening to this, and I was like, oh, this is pretty fair. Like, this is good, right? And then at about the 10-minute mark, maybe 10 minutes, I don't know, a transformer woman came on, talking about how they ran against her and ran ads and against her, and just like totally like, you know, all the cliche nonsense. But then at about the 18-minute mark, he ends up crashing out against the Democratic Party themselves.
Really?
And it's someone that's up in Washington and even owns the fact that they contributed to some of this brainworms on the left.
Why did Kamala Harris, Brianna, lose this election?
Oh boy, where do you want me to start?
You choose.
Okay. The Democratic Party, if you work with it up close, is gross and fake and weird and not real at all.
She pulled the Democratic Party is weird, which was the whole Kamala campaign towards the Donald Trump.
This is a Harris supporter who's a transformer.
And she's like, we're the weird ones.
It's just not.
Listen.
You will sit there and you'll work with the top politicians and you'll find out they are just utterly messaged. There's nothing true behind what they're saying. And we carry that kind of arrogance through. Yet the fundamental nature of a Democratic politician is a people pleaser. You know that friend.
She's saying the silent, she's saying what we've all been saying.
The first leftist to factually use the word authentic. Authentic isn't just adopt all the things that I want you to believe.
Yes.
She's like, no. Or he's like, or they're like, whatever they're like, is like, no, they're fake, brainless message people.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy.
Yeah. Go ahead.
God that never wants to say anything that's going to piss anyone off. So they just kind of say whatever and they're sitting there and smiling at you. And it's kind of charming, but you're also kind of like, there's nothing real here. That's a Democratic politician. Some of the ones that went on last night with you, Barry, I'm sitting there watching them. I like their work and they're saying nothing that's real.
Yeah.
So the problem is when you've got a party that doesn't truly stand for anything, the American people pick up on that. They know that it's a fake party. It knows that it can say it's standing for working class people, but it doesn't feel that that's true culturally. So even though Trump is over here and he's not saying stuff that, like, he's a jerk, he's just a loud jerk, but you know what you're dealing with. And
now, mind you, 10 minutes ago,
What a reasonable-
they were saying that, you know, he ran ads against my people to take away rights. Just saying this a few minutes ago, and now it's just full on. We're finally saying what the other half of the country has been saying to you guys. Keep going.
you know, it is this culture in the Democratic Party of coding us for the most elite nonsense possible. I'll give you a very specific example. Land acknowledgements. I cannot tell you how many Democratic events I've been to where it opens up and someone stands up there and they go, we just want to acknowledge here in Massachusetts that this land belonged to this Indian, and you're just sitting there looking around and it's a bunch of white people like me. It's the most, I hope I can say this word, but masturbatory, self-indulgent, like moralistic nonsense I've ever seen.
Ain't that good?
Yo.
Ain't that good?
I gotta say, that's the most common crash out I've ever heard in my life.
This is such a good cash out.
Just
We
like-
got to pull
just
up a picture of who this is at some
Yeah,
point.
and you know, may I say, we're completely masturbating to ourselves. That's so vulgar. But like, what a great illustration.
What a great
to,
illustration.
to emphasize what's
About
going on with
land
these.
rights and
yeah, and
who's
land
land wrong.
acknowledgements
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
There's no one here that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Keep going. It gets better.
So until we retreat away from this window dressing and get back to being something real where people know what we're actually standing for, the Republicans are going to clean our clock. And just one last thing. Yeah, the simple truth is
one
the
last
American
thing.
people don't like Donald Trump. They voted him out in 2020 for a reason.
Listen.
But they are looking at our culture of this woke progressive nonsense, which honestly, I played a huge part of shepherding into the party in 2014. And they hate it even more. So until that changes,
I'm a part of the problem. I ushered in all this woke nonsense in 2014. Remember, this is a transformer person.
Yikes, bro.
And it's saying, and people don't like this stuff. And we went all the way off the deep end on this stuff.
Bringing a whole new meaning to that's what she said.
Come on.
until the Democrats grow a spine and are willing to say, you know what, we're actually going to piss off the communists. We're actually not going to stand with the Hamas sympathizers. We actually are going to tailor a message for working people and not the perpetually upset, green-haired, like college student. Until we have the backbone to do that, we're going to continue.
Come on! I'm
So
telling
much-
you, this is going to be the infighting.
This is the Nikki Haley.
Oh, this
Or
is
no,
going to be
what's her face?
so good.
What's her
on
face?
The, left.
The one that
I don't know.
The
Tulsi
one that,
Gabbard?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, this is so good. Okay, we got to look up who this person is
Oh
and,
my goodness, okay.
and give them their flowers.
All right, no name.
Brianna Wu says she didn't change, the progressive movement did. Which is a lot of people have said this. So, yeah, Brianna Wu. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, I think it was Brianna Wu.
Wow.
Ain't that good?
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.